The Ford Ranger is slowly becoming one of the most popular pickup trucks in the US market for the 2024 model year. The old truck was considered as boring and rather non-American looking since it was basically a European version of the Ford Ranger. This is why, for 2024, things have changed and the Ford Ranger got the refresh that was needed, and this model became a real hit. But did it fix the other problems? Stay with us while we learn whether the 2024 Ford Ranger fixes the 6 worst flaws of the Ranger's previous generation. Number 6. Chassis. One of the main aspects the previous Ford Ranger was bashed a lot for was the chassis of the model. That model was sold until 2023, and it was not a proper North American version of the Ranger. Instead, the Ford Ranger was borrowed from Ford Europe. This made a lot of buyers extremely angry because this truck did not look anything like a proper American pickup truck. This is why for 2024, things have changed quite a lot, and the new generation brought a newly revised frame to allow many of the changes needed to be added. This new frame was dubbed the T6.2, a new frame that was re-engineered. This new frame, although keeping the old proportions, still adds many changes. This is the added wheelbase, wider tracks of 2 inches each, and new suspension that is placed further outboard. This change allows more room for spring/damper articulation, which results in improved handling capabilities. On top of that, this new model also has a bit wider truck bed that will allow a standard pallet to fit. Overall, the new 2024 Ford Ranger is a massive improvement over the previous model when it comes to the core of the truck, which is the chassis. Number 5. Powertrains. Another huge area of improvement over the previous generation of the Ranger is in terms of engines. The old Ford Ranger offered only a single engine option. This was the 2.3-liter EcoBoost. This engine is an inline 4 that is turbocharged. Although a small engine, it makes a lot of power, which is about 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. However, although quite powerful, this engine simply wasn't cutting it. Customers were not satisfied since they didn't get a V6 variant like the one in the F-150. And for this purpose, Ford decided to add a V6 into the mix. Not one, but 2 V6 engines with the newest generation of the Ford Ranger. We're talking here about the 2.7-liter EcoBoost and the 3.0-liter EcoBoost engines. These 2 engines are not something new. They are present in the F-150 and are highly regarded for their performance, especially the 2.7-liter, which is basically the backbone of the F-150 model. This 2.7-liter is optional in the new Ford Ranger. This means that you need to pay extra in order to get a Ranger with this engine. But in our opinion, it's completely worth it because this engine is a massive upgrade over the 2.3-liter. This 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine produces 315 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. And considering this, we can say that this is a massive amount of power. The second optional engine, 3.0-liter EcoBoost, is only available with the Ranger Raptor. In this model, this engine develops up to 400 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. And you honestly can't beat that, unless in the upcoming years we see the 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 engine. This engine could really shake things up and bring up to 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. But time will tell whether or not we're going to see such an engine in the Ford Ranger for the following model year. Another thing that we would love to see is a plug-in hybrid version of the Ford Ranger. Ford is reportedly working on this model, and this version is probably going to implement the 2.3-liter EcoBoost paired with an electric motor and a larger battery. This will allow you a great fuel economy both in the city and on the highway. Not to mention the excellent EV autonomy. With this model, you'll get up to 70 miles only in electric power alone. But time will tell what Ford really prepares for the next model year. Number 4. Fuel economy. Another area where the Ford F-150 was lagging behind is the fuel economy department. This model, as we noted, was equipped with the 2.3-liter EcoBoost engine. This engine, although small, performed poorly because it's basically too stressed out in this heavy chassis. It is a good engine, but the Ford Ranger is too heavy for it to run as it should and deliver good economy. So even though the model produced high numbers on paper, in the real world, it was not able to get more than 20 mpg combined, which is still not bad, but also not some of the worst fuel economy that you can get. But for 2024 and the introduction of the 2.7-liter engine, things have changed, and this engine is as efficient as the previous 2.3-liter engine. So what does this mean for you? Well, this means that even with the more powerful engine, you have the same MPGs. This is not a huge win, but still, even if you opt for the larger 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine, you should not be afraid that you will get worse fuel economy than the 2.3-liter EcoBoost. That's why if you consider getting the 2.7-liter, you should definitely do so. You get more power but still have the same fuel economy, which is a pretty good thing to have. Number 3. Towing and payload capacity. Towing and payload play a very vital role when it comes to choosing your future pickup truck. A truck has to deliver an excellent towing capability in order to be considered a good purchase. Luckily, the new 2024 Ford Ranger delivers in this category. With a massive 7,500 pounds of tow rating, it is one of the best in the mid-size segment. The only two trucks that have more towing capacity are the Jeep Gladiator and Chevy Colorado, which can tow up to 7,700 pounds. But 200 pounds is not some crazy difference. However, the new Ford Ranger implements a wider bed that is able to fit a standard pallet. This makes this truck probably the go-to model because of this feature, since it offers one of the largest truck beds in the segment. This is why if you need a truck for its truck performance, the Ford Ranger is the right call for you. Number 2. Exterior and interior styling. We covered many of the areas where the 2024 Ford Ranger has improved over its predecessor, but probably the main area where this model improved is in terms of exterior and interior design. The old Ford Ranger was not a proper American pickup truck, and this is why the model was not as popular as other trucks in this segment. The truck was designed for the global market, and it simply lacked that American DNA. The styling was off, and also the interior features were pretty limited. Luckily for you, for the 2024 model year, things have changed for the better. This new generation implements a new front and rear end designs. The front end is much bolder and has a huge presence on the road, with the massive front grille and the C-shaped headlights. We love the front end, especially on the Raptor model, which captivates you with its aggression and performance. The rear end was also pretty much redesigned with a new taillight design and powerful LED setup that brought this model up to date with all the modern standards. The interior also saw a major revamp with a new dashboard, and most importantly, with the massive portrait infotainment system. This system is not only good looking, but also extremely usable on a day-to-day basis, which is a major improvement over the previous laggy system that frustrated its owners. You also have a driver's display that shows you all of the essential data. Overall, the new Ford Ranger is a really good-looking model with an extremely comfortable cabin that will make you enjoy every time you sit behind the wheel. Number 1. Raptor model. Probably the biggest flaw with the previous model was the lack of a performance version. The previous model did not have a Raptor version, and luckily for many buyers, this model was introduced for the 2024 model year. And this model has everything that a Raptor model should have. Powerful suspension setup on all four corners, skid plates, and wheels wrapped in huge all-terrain tires that give you an unmatched capability when driving on any type of road condition, as well as a powerful engine. The Ford Ranger Raptor includes the 3.0-liter EcoBoost engine that makes some serious power, specifically up to 400 HP and 440 pound-feet of torque. Not to mention the wider body that improves the presence of this truck even more and makes this truck really stand out. And also the many other features that tell that you drive something really special. We're talking here about the decals, interior stitching, and many other goodies. The only drawback of this model is definitely the price. Starting at $55,470 makes it a bad deal, since with this amount of cash, you can easily get a full-size, well-equipped truck that makes probably the same amount of power. This is why we think that Ford will reduce the price and make the Ford Ranger Raptor more attractive to buyers. Placing it in the high 40s will definitely attract more people to buy this vehicle.